OK, we're going to start the show this week with a chat about Liverpool, Joe. This was after quotes in the week, wasn't it, about Arne Slot, in which he said, we will make the team very strong next season. That was when he was asked about the summer transfer plans. Looks highly likely that Liverpool are going to be champions this year. So we thought about what they can do to strengthen, or if they need to strengthen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they can actually be champions today or tomorrow, by the end of this weekend anyway, if results go their way with Arsenal. And like you said, Arne Slot talking about strengthening the team. Virgil van Dijk officially signing that brand new contract as well this week. So today we're going to look at their team for next season, the team that you think they should build to retain the title, to retain the Premier League. We'll go through position by position. You've each got an 11, and we'll see if there's any disagreement, any places you think they need to improve or upgrade to retain that title.
Yeah. Usual rules apply. Any disagreement, we'll go with the best argument brought forward. Let's start with the keeper.
I've got with Alisson.
Yeah, same.
Is this as much of a tap-in as it seems? Because obviously Mamardashvili was signed last summer. He's going to arrive in June, isn't he, for 30 million euros. It seems like Kelleher might well leave the club. But is Mamardashvili a potential starter next season? Or is it going to be Alisson?
I think it would be Alisson. I think if you felt Alisson's form has dropped this season, maybe you would lean towards Georgie, but his surname is a bit too much. I can't pronounce his surname, but Alisson, I feel like it will be the guaranteed starter.
But you've watched a lot of him in
He's
Spain.
been impressive. Like they beat us, Valencia beat us the other 2 weeks ago, 2-1, and he won man of the match. He's impressive, but I can't see him coming in his first season starting over Alisson. I can't see that.
And you agree, Nieve?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
OK,
let's
there
get
we go.
Alisson
Stick Alisson down, and we'll move through to the right-back position. Now, this is a big position. Obviously, we've seen the reports. Nothing confirmed yet, but looks like Trent heavily linked with that move to Real Madrid. So is this an area they'll strengthen? Neither of you think so. So, Nieve, you think Conor Bradley, for you, starting right-back next season?
Yeah, I think he's shown enough to give him a go. I think fitness issues is the only thing I'd be concerned about.
He's only started 2 Premier League games this season.
Yeah, that is something to consider. And also the domino effect of losing Trent's creativity. And so are they going to get that somewhere else on the pitch? Because I really like the runs that Conor Bradley makes, but in terms of being that creative player from deep, he's perhaps not got that quality. So it will be interesting to see what they do.
Do you think they still need to sign a right-back? Because even if Trent does go, regardless of whether Conor Bradley is first choice or not, do they still need strength in depth in that position?
Maybe they do, but they've got the likes of Kwanzaa who can play as a right-back every now and then. But I look at the right-back market and there isn't anyone that I feel like can come in, especially a top right-back. Hakimi, but he's going to be worth a lot. Yeah. Frimpong doesn't suit the system. So I don't think there's a right-back in today's market that can come to Liverpool and start. And I think, given the chance, I think he would deserve it.
Yeah, you maybe wonder if that's a position where, just like a lot of positions for Liverpool, where it's about not necessarily a starter, but thinking of the future and that depth and being a bit more clever in the market.
Absolutely.
OK.
Conor up.
Stick him down.
Go to the centre-backs, shall we? Do the pair together. Now, it's interesting, I think you've both gone for Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahima Konate, because there are a lot of reports over the last week or so about the future of Ibrahima Konate. He's entering the final year of his contract, so we only have 1 season left. PSG heavily interested. Is there a world in which, Dean Howson comes in? That report has been linked large as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, I feel like you don't want to make too many changes for too many changes' sake, though, and when you've got a really good partnership here.
Absolutely.
And I think with the extension of Van Dijk and Salah, I think Konate is more likely to also be right up for doing an extension too. So.
Absolutely, and I think Dean would play. He's more of a left-footed centre back, and you've got Virgil van Dijk there. So I don't think he would come in for a right-footed centre back, Konate. And I feel like if there was one person to leave the Premier League as a French centre back, it would be most likely William Saliba. I think he would be the likeliest option to go.
To you again.
Real Madrid.
I mean, I did it with Trent 3 years ago, but I feel like Konate will stay at Liverpool. I think he would put that extension in.
What do you think about the future of Jarell Quansah? Because obviously he started the season, very first game of the season, never really got back into the side, did he? I think it's just 2 Premier League starts as well for him so far this campaign. Is he the sort of next evolution of centre-back behind Konate, or will they sign a Mark Gahey or a Howson this summer?
I think that perhaps signing a centre-back of a quality above to increase the quality of depth so that there can be a little bit more rotation just to help the squad throughout the season, because I'm not entirely sure. I mean, Quansah's got a lot of potential, but I've not been entirely convinced by him.
OK, so total agreement for the whole team so far. Can I just say, by the way, Faysal's placement.
Yeah,
look at the attention to detail. I'm a big fan of that, mate.
Look at this. Look at
that. Perfect. Let's move on to the left-back position. We haven't actually had a signing yet. We have got one now, and it's an agreement again. Nieve, this is someone I know that you rave about. You've been raving about him all season, haven't you, to be fair?
Yeah, and I think what's exciting about the left-back position for Liverpool is they have still got Andy Robertson, and I think if you alleviate Robertson's minutes, you can still get all those best qualities of Robertson without having to worry about the fact that perhaps he's not got as much energy and movement in his legs. So you could sign someone like Kirkes, who's just got a ridiculously high ceiling, but perhaps there's maybe bits you could tweak to get him to that level. But yeah, Kirkes is just an absolute machine.
He's a player you could very much see in this system, couldn't you, as well? More overlapping runs than any other Premier League player this season, and 102 open play crosses in the Premier League this season. Only 2 players with more chips in with goals as well. He seems like a player that wouldn't take long to adapt to this system.
Absolutely, he reminds me of like a young Robertson coming in from Hull. His overlapping runs, and I think it will make perfect sense because Robertson, you could see over the past couple of years, his level has decreased a lot. And
you could absolutely see Kirkes making those sort of runs that Robertson used to make, where, do you know, like the pressing runs when Robertson would just go on a journey and hit the opposition's defence? I could see Kirkes doing the same.
It looks like they are going to be linked with Anthony Robinson. Do you think that's another player that you might see linked with the move?
There is, but he's younger. I feel like he's younger, cheaper, and I feel like he's better, in my personal opinion.
Stick him up.
Let's get him up. Into the midfield then, we'll start with the slightly deeper role. Sticking with one of the most improved players in Europe this season.
Ryan Gravenberch. For me, I think he needs to start. I think Liverpool still needs to sign a midfielder for me, but it's a cover for him. I think this season their biggest mistake is they haven't signed someone that can rotate with him, and they used him a lot. Like towards the end of the season against PSG, for example, you could see he got tired, he got exhausted a lot, and I think they need to sign a midfielder to help him rotate with minutes. But he needs to be the guy.
Who would that be then? You said twice that they need to sign a midfielder.
Just a cover for him. I think Endo is okay, but I don't think he's good enough. But I feel like just needs a replacement there, just to start as a 6. But he needs to be the star.
Yeah, not just as cover, but I also think if we're looking at sort of my team as well, and I've got Szoboszlai in there, and then you look at sort of Trent not being in that team and Conor Bradley being there, all of a sudden you've got quite a lot of players in the build-up where their speciality is perhaps not to be creative and send the ball forward and move forward with passes. I think Gravenberch is unbelievable with the ball. He's got great intricacy, he can go past a man. But in terms of the passing range and creativity and vision, you're losing that on the right-hand side. You've perhaps not got that in midfield as much. You've got Szoboszlai who's more of a runner. So perhaps a midfielder that's cover, but also offers them an alternate way to get out of their own half.
Do you think that's why they tried to bring Zubimendi in the summer, of course?
Exactly. But I do feel like they have someone that I feel like he's competing with Szoboszlai, but that's Curtis Jones. I do rate Curtis Jones very highly. He's played as a right back towards the end of the season now, and of course he can play in the midfield, but I feel like Curtis Jones could be the X factor for them in that midfield, the creativity which Szoboszlai maybe doesn't have. But I feel like Szoboszlai this season has had an amazing season. That's why I still have him.
So have you got all of the same midfield basically as this season?
Let's stick Szoboszlai down. Let's stick him
up because we've got an agreement for the midfield 3. So no changes in there.
Stick Gravenberch down first. We've covered him.
But
you've got the same midfield 2, just to clarify, Nieve. You've got
all the same.
The current midfield 3.
Yeah, I think what's great about Szoboszlai is perhaps when you look at him, there might not be as much quality there as the other 2, but you need balance and you need sort of those facilitators, those movers. And yeah, I think especially maybe towards the end of the season, we don't rate it as much because he's a bit tireder, but at those early periods in the season, he's just running the stamina. It's so important.
The one we haven't spoken about, for me, who's been Liverpool's best of the midfield 3 is Alexis McAllister, because he just knits everything together. And I think if you took him out of the team, there'd be the biggest difference in what you'd miss. Would you agree that he's been the best?
Absolutely. He's been getting all the shine and deserving
because of the change of the
versus but I think he's the most important. Take him out, I don't think Liverpool's midfield can function. And we all have Liverpool's 3 midfield for next season. The problem isn't them. The problem is the depth around it. Liverpool this season had no depth at all. And I think to compete for the Champions League and the Premier League, you need some depth.
Do you think, though, I think a lot of Liverpool fans would agree with you that midfield 3 has been a big factor in why they are going to win the league and how good it's been. Do you think they will look to strengthen, though, Nieve, this summer at one of the areas, even if it is a backup or just to manage game time? Do you think that is an area they will address in the summer? Because Slot said he's expecting a big summer.
Yeah, because he'll want to bring the players in that he wants, won't he? He's not had the opportunity to do that yet. So he'll be looking to perhaps find the right profiles where he can make those substitutions and still get that and still get that on the pitch. So, yeah, for sure.
What about just one name I want to throw in here? Obviously, we spoke about Curtis Jones, that midfield three. We haven't seen much of Harvey Elliott this season. Now, Harvey Elliott, I know, can also play wide, but I love him in that sort of centre of the pitch where he can get on the ball and show some of his magic. Do you think maybe this is a summer that he's going to move away from Liverpool? Do the minutes come next season? Because it's been a couple of seasons now where he hasn't got an awful lot of game time.
It's a shame this season he hasn't got a lot of minutes, but he was injured at the start of the season.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't forget the goal that he scored against PSG in the second leg. I think he provides a different outlet, especially his ball carrying and him being a left-footed player. I do hope Curtis Jones can get more minutes, but I do feel for Liverpool to compete for next season, these three are the main. The Curtis Jones, the Harvey Elliott, they're not sixes. So I think if they were to sign someone this summer, it has to be a traditional six.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we go right wing next?
I wonder who this could be. Is this
Yeah,
going to be a new signing?
Okay,
tap in.
The Ballon d'Or winner of this season, Mo Salah.
You think he wins it? You think he wins it?
I think it depends on a lot of circumstances. I think it depends on something that he can't control. I think it depends on if Barcelona win the Champions League. If they win the Champions League, it's Rafinha. If PSG win the Champions League, it's Dembele. But if neither of them win the Champions League, I would give it to Salah, 100%.
Who do you think should win the Ballon d'Or, Niamh?
I think if you're going on like an individual season, week by week, looking at their performances domestically, consistently over the whole season, I don't think that anybody has had a better season than Salah, regardless of if they go on to win certain trophies.
How big is that, not just for Mo Salah and Liverpool, but him signing that contract for the rest of Liverpool and actually who they can look to bring in? Do you think for players that they're linked with, obviously they're going to win the league, but the fact that you've got the likes of Salah and Van Dijk committing to the club, do you think that helps them in the transfer window, attract other players?
No, absolutely. Because he brings an aura about him.
Yeah.
Like people want to play next to him, and I feel like he's doing it for another reason as well. I think he knows he's getting closer and closer to becoming one of the best of all time, and I think he is now cemented, in my personal opinion, the best winger in the Premier League history. But I think he's looking, his eyes is on the top. I think he wants to be the best player in Premier League history, full top, whether winger or player. And I think with another Premier League title, you can't really dispute that.
And on that, if you look at like the attacking players, looking at the way that Salah plays with Darwin and gets the most out of Darwin and creates for him, if you are maybe the striker that Liverpool are looking at in the market.
Great link, Niamh.
You might think, I want to go play with Mo Salah. Yeah.
So you're saying you think, well, let's move to the striker position. We may as well. You've got the magnet up there. You both think a number 9 is needed in the summer. You're suggesting Victor Osimhen. You're suggesting Hugo Ekitike.
That's correct. I don't think Osimhen will be the perfect link in that front trio with Salah. I think, first of all...
Hold it still. So just
First of all,
there you go.
First of all, Hugo, I think he's a better creator. He's a better dribbler. And if you go back throughout Liverpool's tenure over the past 7 years with Klopp as well, the best moment of Liverpool's dynasty came with Firmino was there. I think he gives the closest vibe of Firmino. And if you look at, I think the number one target of all Liverpool fans is Isaac. I think Isaac is the number one target. They can't afford him. He's 150 million. I don't think.
Do you think he stays?
I think
he get Champions League football.
I think he stays. Right? I think Isaac will stay. He's the closest, I think, in terms of profile next to Isaac. I think he's a better dribbler compared to Osimhen. Osimhen, for me, the only thing he gives you, in my personal, I've watched Osimhen. The only thing he gives you is the finishing. However, in terms of XG, he gives you higher XG than Osimhen. He's a better movement of the player, and he's a better creator of the player. And if you need that, especially with Trent Gunn and the midfield, as we spoke, in terms of creation isn't the highest, you need someone that can drop deep and create for the team. I watched him against against you guys. Scored in the first leg. Yeah. He needs to be the number one signing for Liverpool.
I think I disagree because I really like Ekitike, and I think even his presence in the box, sort of linking up, even if it's like unwittingly just getting themselves in good positions, the ball bounces off him, the second ball, I think Salah will benefit from that. But I entirely disagree that Osimhen only gives you finishing. I also think he gives you a real relentless press. He can go and find a goal by himself. I think all the good things we see from Darwin, when we see him sort of be aggressive and go and sort of grab an opportunity for himself, Osimhen can do all that. It's what he was really special at Napoli. But then he can give you the finishing on the end of it and actually convert it into a goal. Yeah, no, I think Osimhen as well, he's 26, Ekitike is 22, and I think this is a position that if Liverpool look to try and keep the rest of the team fairly similar, so there's a bit of continuation, you want that standout player that you sign to maybe be entering their peak years and their stronger years. And I think there's still a heck of a lot of potential with Ekitike, he's 22. But there's also lots of things where you think, oh, could this improve, could that improve? Whereas with Osimhen, I think you've got a much more established final product.
But I can say the same about Osimhen. Why is it he's 26 years old and last season was his likeliest season to leave? Why did no Premier League club go after him? Chelsea tried, but no one really pulled the trigger towards Osimhen. So maybe there's something about Osimhen. Maybe I think his last season destroyed him with Napoli. And I feel like if you're looking for someone that can come in and help Salah and help the midfield, you look at him. I feel like he is a better... The thing is with Liverpool's problem next season, especially with Trent goes, and I think we'll mention it with the left wing as well, I think you need more creativity and you need a bit more X factor, especially in creation. And I think he gives you that more than Osimhen. I feel like Osimhen... The name Osimhen rang circles 2-3 years ago. I don't look at Osimhen the same no more.
What do you think about the fee, though? Talking about Ugo Ekitike, I saw reports this week talking €100 million fees for Ugo Ekitike. That feels ginormous when Osimhen has a £60 million buyout clause.
And I also think as well, it's maybe unfair to suggest that it could be to do with stuff on the pitch with Osimhen going to Galatasaray. I think there was a failure on all accounts from quite a lot of people involved, whether that's people around Osimhen, whether that's Napoli as well, a bit of stubbornness got in the way. And I think there was a breakdown in communication with all parties that led to that moment. I don't necessarily think that was because of any sort of drop-off in performance whatsoever. I just think when you watch Osimhen and you look at like that presence and that movement when he's hunting players down, when he's muscling players off the ball, I just think he's a far more established, strong player than what Ekitike is. And I think if you want to continue that success at the top, this is a position that you don't want to take too much of a gamble. And I think you're taking more of a gamble maybe for a long-term gain with someone like Ekitike, whereas I think you've got yourself someone who's right in it, who's going to hit the ground running.
Salah's getting older. You need someone that can help Salah in terms of, if you sign Osimhen, Salah's still going to be the main creator for this team. Let's be honest. Trent is gone. Salah's still the main creator. If you sign Osimhen, Osimhen's not going to drop deep, link up with the team, help Salah. It'll be Hugo. So you expect Salah now towards his final years of his Liverpool tenure to be closer to the box. And Hugo's been doing it in a one-man striker formation and two with Omar Marmoush before he went to City. So Marmoush knows that.
Need to make a decision. Should we look at the numbers? 21 goals, 4 assists in just 23 appearances in the league for Osimhen. 14 goals, 5 assists in 28 for Ekitike in the league.
Just think about Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen, that partnership. Salah and Osimhen. Think about that for a second, guys.
But Kivicia's a complete different player.
Is the price tag
I think, weirdly, I feel like Ekitike is the more likely option that Liverpool would go for. So maybe it's something in my head about Liverpool signing like established superstars, but they seem to assign players that are slightly younger, make them superstars at the club. It feels to me like Ugo Ekitike is a more likely signing. But
then do you think perhaps a few of the forwards at Liverpool, there's sort of debates whether or not they're good enough? Do you think they want to take another gamble on a player for the long term? Maybe they want someone a bit more established.
We saw the news this morning, didn't we, about Darwin Nunez. It looks likely for Fabrizio Romano messaging that it looks like he might be open to
but then again, Sadio Mane, he never came from a big club. Salah never came from that big club.
Joe, you calling it?
I think it's Ekitike.
Okay.
I think it's a road shout, but let's mix it up. Let's go for
Joe the referee.
We go Osimhen on every video.
Okay.
We link a striker. It's nice to mix it up.
Interesting. Let's know what you think at home on that one. Tough one. Good debates for both. And we've got, just time for the last player then. You're sticking with Gakpo, Nieve? Yeah.
Bradley Barcola.
You're going Barcola?
You think that could happen?
Barcola.
Do you think that's realistic?
Is that realistic?
First of all, it's realistic. First of all, they've tried PSG for the past 3 months. Have tried to sign an extension. He kept saying, "I'm waiting for the end of the season." He is still not a guaranteed start in that PSG team. 2 players in that PSG tree is guaranteed in Dembele and Kvicha. The last person is between him and Doué. He still hasn't managed to find that 100% guaranteed starter. I feel like Liverpool needs to go all in for him. Liverpool, they only have one difference maker, one X factor in Mo Salah. They can't rely on Salah to save you every single game. Gakpo, Diaz, Darwin Nunez, Jota, that little cycle is gone now. They need a difference maker.
I personally think it's unrealistic. I don't think PSG would want to sell Barcola to Liverpool. And also,
I agree.
I know you said about
That's
this.
it.
I think also Gakpo, I think on the left has looked really good, and I almost think that there's going to be a bit of a squad issue for Liverpool where they're going to want to bulk it out, and it's potentially going to cost a lot of money to sign Kirkes and Ekitike or Osimhen if they do that. So I just think where you can maybe just keep your starter as someone you've already got, I think you're best doing that.
I think that's a really good point.
I think it's realistic as well. So let's put Cody up.
Stick it there.
Sorry, Bradley.
We're massive fans of his, by the way, but
Bradley.
I just think from a realistic point of view, I think Nieve makes a good point.
Okay, so there we have potentially an 11 to retain the title for Arne Slot next season. Let us know what you think about that at home and in the comments on YouTube.